As thousands of Canada Revenue Agency online accounts have been disabled amid an ongoing cyber breach investigation. Saturday's hack hit email addresses, direct deposit details, and fraudulently issued CERB payments. The federal government said the CRA was hit by 2 attacks affecting 5,500 people. They went on to say the attackers took advantage of the fact that many people reuse passwords and usernames across multiple accounts. A CRA spokesperson says affected accounts have been disabled and that the RCMP are now investigating. Well, we want to dig deeper into the story and are inviting to the program right now Daniel Tobak. He is a cybersecurity expert, also CEO of CBC Television. He joins us right now in Vaughan, Ontario. Daniel, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me on.
So the CRA, they're describing this as a credential stuffing type of attack. What do they mean by that?
Credential stuffing is really a technique used by bad guys, threat actors, where they're reusing passwords from previous breaches that have occurred. So when you look at some of the biggest breaches we've had over the past 12 months from financial institutions, government and banking, they're reusing those passwords to try to reuse them in this particular attack.
So who initiates this kind of attack? Are we talking about organized crime? Are we talking about state players, individual criminals?
That's a great question. It's a little bit of both. I mean, what's happening today, the line between organized crime and state-sponsored attacks have become so thin, we don't even know who's doing what anymore. It's almost like the joint forces. I mean, what's really happening today, this has become a very lucrative activity for a lot of these organizations where they can generate billions of dollars a year in what I call non-taxed and non-embargo type revenues. But most likely in this particular attack, it's from the research we're doing, it looked like it's an organized crime groups that are doing it just to capitalize on COVID and the payments between governments to citizens.
And what kind of information and manipulation can these attackers access and do? You touched upon it a bit, but I'm kind of wondering how deep can they actually get into a person's identity if they access these types of accounts?
The unfortunate part is many users are reusing their usernames and passwords across the board, from social media to government profiles and so on. When the threat actors are actually able to compromise those accounts and they get in, they can see their name, they can see their address, their social security information, and a bit of financial data that they can withhold from the actual account. And that is where it's very scary. They can see your history, they can see your potential tax returns. There's a lot of information that they can grab by actually compromising your account. So, from one side, they're able to, redirect the CERB payments to other accounts, and they're able to take a hold of those particular dollars. From another side, they can use your profile now to actually perpetrate other types of fraud, such as banking fraud and applying for mortgages using some of their connections in other banks.
So are certain individuals more vulnerable than others, Daniel?
I don't think there's a particular group that is more vulnerable than others. In the end of the day, what's really important, what we have seen with this particular hack, just from the analysis that we have looked at, I mean, you didn't even have to apply for a CERB payment to actually become a victim. It's really about, we have cases that we have seen where citizens are, being defrauded and they never even applied, and now they're on the hook for those particular payments. So I think everybody are vulnerable in an equal manner. It's really just a matter of making sure that your username and passwords are secure.
Okay, so if you're an individual, you're hearing the story for the first time, you happen to have a CRA account, because not everybody has signed up for one, how do you proceed?
So I always say this, and I think you heard me say this over the years many times, it's important not to share usernames and passwords from different accounts to another. I know sometimes it's difficult to remember the password, but it's got to be unique and it's got to have a sequence to it, so you don't make it easy for the threat actors to actually log in. So it's important to actually just make sure that your username, password is secure. Make sure that you're checking your accounts and your financial records, your financial, such as Equifax, just to see that nothing has been assigned to your name from a legal perspective.
Daniel, as I say, always good to speak with you. Thank you for this.
Thanks for having me on.
And that's cybersecurity expert Daniel Tobak in Vaughan, Ontario.